Gibson, and I'm the CEO of Agrico UK Limited. It's part of a Dutch farmers cooperative, stress the word cooperative, which has been established. This is its 50th anniversary year this year, so it's been quite successful. It exports something in the order of 450,000 tons of certified sweet potatoes worldwide to 80 odd countries, to 140 countries through a network of 80 odd agents and affiliate daughter companies, and which includes the sort of tonnage that we grow and market and trade here in the UK. We have to move on the slides when we get, if there's any stability.
Right. So,
When I know you're trying your best, thank you. So Agrico UK started to consider where and how we exercised and demonstrated corporate social responsibility some 13 or 14 years ago now. And it was something that was dear to my heart because prior to joining Agrico 15 years ago, I was the member, I worked for Baxter's, so I know the Northeast and Murrayshire and all that area quite well. And I've done a number of jobs, and one of the ones I did at Baxter's was as a business unit manager, which, we look at the letters and the mnemonic is, so I was a bump. And my last job in the army was sometime prior to that, and I was a crack commander of regimental aid post. So I was a crack and a bump. So look at your facts tonight for this presentation. Looking on gas. So Agrico is situated north of Dundee, in the sort of Angus, Vale of Angus, and we've been established there now for nearly 30 years. The office, we have 14 members of staff covering sales, administration, production, planning, technical, storage, agronomy, grading, logistics, research and development. And one of the things that I've invested in, which is proving really worthwhile, is a knowledge transfer partnership student who did his knowledge transfer partnership in carbohydrates through Strathclyde University under the gaze of Professor Richard Tester. That translated into doing his PhD in Agrico, and that's translated in now in a permanent post with me as a sort of analyst, helping me with a lot of things, not least all our trial data and all the rest of it. But he's doing it at a corporate level, a group level, not just at the UK level. And I have everybody else who delivers all the other day-to-day routine and really important elements of any working business. So why were we keen to do this? I'm afraid we've got slide for these again, so let's see how we get on. But why did we agree to do this? Well, it was an ambition of the parent company, Agrico Holland, in Holland, Agrico AU, which is the letter indicator for a cooperative. And they wanted to be able to demonstrate to all their target countries, the countries they supplied with seed, the 450,000 of which are humble 25 to 30,000 tons as a part. And they wanted to be able to say, listen, we do care about people, the planet, place, and so on and so forth. So we all agreed at a management team level that we would all look at how to deliver on ISO or on the corporate social responsibility. At that time, 2010-ish, there were not so many options. There were, I should just draw a distinction here between assurance schemes, which are all about how you consistently present safe, affordable food to a supermarket or whoever, and a corporate social responsibility sort of regulatory framework, which is either imposed upon you or you adopt and actually take ownership of and believe in and choose to follow. And the consensus of opinion at the end of all this was that ISO 26000 was the route we were going to go down as a group. So as a group of companies. So this is now settled into all our subsidiaries around the globe. I'll just see if we get a bit of that coming up. Facts around potatoes here, but I'm not going to dwell on them. We'll stick with this slide for a while. So we had Agrico Nordic, Agrico Poland, Agrico France, Agrico obviously Holland, the parent company, Agrico Italy, Agrico Canada, Agrico UK, and then a series of 80 or so agents worldwide. And we started, what can we do? Well, the first thing we're going to do is, obviously, the ambition is to try and make sure that our carbon signature and all things in terms of energy efficiency are as good as they can be relative to the available resource and the condition of existing infrastructure. Was it fit for purpose to carry on, or indeed was it past its sell-by date and we had to start again? Our view in the UK was that actually we had this World War II aircraft hangar. It's very tall. It's got a lot of steel in it. It's well engineered. It was in basically sound condition, weatherproof and wind and weather tight. And so we took a view that we were going to insulate it. So we spray foamed insulated. Now that, as a chemical, is not ideal, but it's very good thermally, and it was quite efficient, better than, say, some of the other materials like rock wool or sheep's wool, fleece, and so on and so forth. But it was also practical in terms of adhering to the surface of the inside of the building. And Bob knows our store well of old, having done quite a few experiments and helped us with various projects there over the time. So consistent with this, and I had a background in renewable energy, I said, well, we want to actually stop depending on the grid as much as we do. And I know that all the wooden power poles that go out to farms and go out to the rural communities in our wonderful countryside are basically leaking more power, evaporating, for want of a better word, off the lines, the power lines, than they are servicing, the one or two light bulbs at the end of it, or maybe the small business or whatever it might be. So anything we can do to actually add generation toward the end of these wooden pole distribution networks, whether it's 11 kV or 33 kV, was actually reinforcing it. It was actually making it more efficient, because you were then drawing less power to energize these ends of line scenarios than otherwise would be the case. So we put up a single 11 kilowatt wind turbine, which sounds pretty modest, and it was pretty modest. And I went grant hunting, and I got a little bit of a preferential loan through the Scottish Government, which was available at the time, and we got a little bit of feed-in tariff. So it all started this idea. And it was also about showing the business and my Dutch colleagues that we were using our initiative to make sure we weren't taking money away from farmers, because anything we invest in is taking money away from farmers for what it is we actually depend on, which is a certified seed. So we started out with one, and in 2013, we'd seen this thing running. I had this bit of background experience in wind development, so I bought two more of the same Gaia turbines. They were excellent because they operated at lower average wind speed. The fetch, or the wind area in our part of the country, is nice and flat. There's very little tree disturbance, there's very little topographical disturbance, so it's clean wind. And in what the now 10 years since the second lot, I think one's had a brake pad changed on it once. So for wind turbines, small scale wind turbines, they've been a huge success. But let's be realistic, not generating one hell of a lot of power. During this process, we were looking at and getting involved in ISO 26000. So I can't say that we looked at other schemes, and we chose this one because it was one which gave us flexibility. And we produced our version of the book that Bob paraphrased. We produced our own CSR report, which we update and read on a regular basis. Now, how did I do this? I looked at, I said, do I have the time to do all this properly and give it justice? And I felt that I didn't, because I had plenty of other things to get on with as well. And so by good fortune, I knew of a marine biologist who was literally finishing his PhD based out of the University of the Highlands in Oban on the west of Scotland, and he could not get a job for love nor money. He was overqualified, extremely able, and he just could not get a job. Nobody was prepared to give him that staff job. I said, I can make that happen for you. So Adam Shivers came and joined us, and he spent 6 months because he wanted to keep it to a limited period of time, because he obviously had ambitions to find a job in his area of expertise. At the end of it, he went for a job interview with the Scottish Government to be a nematologist, because marine nematology was his thing. So soil health and nematodes, very topical subject here in Scotland. And he didn't get a job. So he moved on, and the next job he got, after a lot of hard work and preparation of many grueling interviews and references and the rest of it, he is now remediating Sellafield, which is a first generation nuclear power station in South Cumbria, which is going to be that was a great success. But Adam's legacy was he gave us the template in terms of documentation. So we chose a number of things, and I'm going to move on to that. But that just shows, maybe come back to this slide if things will work, but it just shows you some various other things that we're doing, which is keeping us relevant and current throughout our CSR journey. And that is, to us, what is the beauty of the ISO 26000 model. So we'll now touch a wee bit on, cover the wind turbines. The document itself has been put together quite comprehensively by international experts. That was very much one of the things that we took away from our research into which system scheme to go with. And what are the topics that we chose from the kind of long list that exists, which will be visible in that business guidebook, which Bob advertised earlier. So we wanted food supply and new business, we wanted environment and CO2 reduction, we wanted health innovation, we wanted involved, engaged and thriving employees, happy in the work, expert in the work, we wanted generational mix, we wanted to make sure we had the demographic balance in our business correct, and we want to have growers' interest. Growers have got to believe in what we as a company do. And this goes back to that other sort of marketing, business development thing. We've all heard of the how, the what, and the why. But what about the why, the what, and the how? Which is the way we prefer to look at it. And that will come on to the thriving people piece, which I'll come on to mention a bit more in a minute. So within those parameters, we have various key principles. And these are really at the heart of our business. And they translate through to the human element and the human, the sort of human resource side of it, if you like, very well. So we wanted to be accountable, transparent. We want to behave ethically. There is quite a lot of negative stories associated with some sort of traders and sort of, potato traders. And we all know traders, wheelers and dealers, slightly dodgy reputation. Any of that, not interested in working with companies that don't have the right integrity and the right ethics and do things properly, do their level best to do it right first time to a really high standard. And that also permeates down to your growers because you want them to go on your journey with you. So it was in our interests to show and set a good example and then hopefully have people come with us on the journey. We wanted to respect our stakeholders' interests. So if you imagine that every farm is my warehouse, I contract with over 80 farmers across the country and they grow stuff for me and they store it. It's my duty to sell it. It's my responsibility to sell it and pay them fairly for it. So I've got to respect their space. They won't only ever deal with me, they'll deal with my competitors as well. So you've got to have a strong relationship with them. And in this picture, I've got my Dutch colleague, Jeffrey. Oh, that was a mistake. I hit the wrong button. Oh no, I've got it back in. I thought it was a laser. Mistake. Chap in the middle, Jeffrey from Holland. To the right, to the back, Adam, Graham Curry to the right front, and then second left, Alex and Gavin. These are some of my colleagues day to day. And they're supported with others as well. So the other things we obviously looked at: human rights, labour practice, environment, customer and consumer issues, community involvement and development. So just touch on human rights. What does that mean? Well, it certainly means modern day slave labour. We employ seasonal workers and they're on 0 hours contracts. I don't apologise for that. The economics of it, trying to make it work any other way would not work. But they've got to they're paid their holiday pay, they get paid holidays, we look after them for the 6 months of the year that we have them with us. They're not our employees, but we make sure that the agency that helps work with them is treating them fairly. And they know there's a closer interaction between us and them. And the reason I know that is because they come back year in, year out. They come from mostly Eastern Europe. We've had Sri Lankans, we've had Bangladeshis, and so on. So it's very important for us that we get that bit right. In terms of labour practices, it links to that. They have, they work overtime. If they work at weekends, they get overtime pay, and all those sorts of basic things which are only right and proper. The environment, we care about the environment. We do our level best. Our breeding program of new varieties, which is one of the things we do as a breeder, a maintainer, and multiplier of seed potatoes, certified seed potatoes, is that we produce varieties that are going to be less dependent on agricultural plant protection products, so that they've got blight resistance, virus resistance, nematode resistance, and ideally tolerance as well, all bred from conventional breeding techniques, hybrid crossing, not through any form of genetic interference. There are new genetic techniques. I say from a scientific point of view, we absolutely need to know what they are. We need to understand them because there is a place for them in the future if we are to feed the 9 billion by 2050 number of people that will be inhabited. Customer and consumer issues, goes to say, you don't keep them on side, you don't have a market for what you've got, and community involvement will come on to shortly. So this is our long-standing Tatty-tastic project. It's taken a bit of a slump with COVID, not surprisingly, but we're rekindling this year. Headmaster and I just been through an HMIE inspection with the schools inspectorate of our two locally collaborating primary schools, and the kids come to us for one morning every 2 weeks from, in this case, it's going to be August through until Christmas time, and they will grow their own potatoes. Even in August, we'll grow them. We've got some old polytunnels, glass houses, we'll grow them in, and they can grow, and then they can eat their own potatoes. Normally, we start at January to June, at the end of school summer term, before they go on their summer holidays. And we have we do all sorts of exciting things that make the odd picture with it. So these are the sort of aims of our sort of engagement with community. That young lady is now 18, studying plant pathology at university. So actually, little things can generate some curious, really positive results. So we do all those things on the left, and we educate them about where food comes from. We just look at it from the microcosm of potato. Potato is important because it's the third most important food crop in the world. It's more efficient than rice, more efficient than wheat in terms of water and utilization, and ultimately it is probably nutritionally slightly less than wheat in terms of energy density, the carbohydrate you get in a potato, but of course it's hugely versatile, whereas you've got to do a lot more to your wheat to the point where it's bread or whatever else you want to use. These are just some pictures. You've got to make it fun, as I mentioned, and everything through to sort of designing posters or sensory testing, the spider graphs, which we get them to create and use little simple Excel programs to. They do cook tests and all those sorts of things. It's been successful. Back in 2012, the then head teacher Jane Ferguson on the right, top left picture. We got the sort of Angus Council Partnership Excellence Awards. We were run up at other times, Food and Drink Federation recognition, and similarly in partnerships, and then with COSLA, Confederation of Scottish Local Authorities, in 2015. We carried on doing it after that, but of course we fell out of the limelight because other people were doing it, despite like other people should get the recognition. So fair enough, but we're still actively participating. The other key thing we've been doing in conjunction with Food and Drink Federation as a member is we've been doing STEM science, STEM ambassadors, encouraging science, technology, engineering, mathematics, really important subjects to promote. And we are part of that network of 25,000 STEM ambassadors that are encouraging young people and employers to think. Investors in people, have you heard about it? Remarkable, it's branded as these days. We started our journey back in 2012, going back to that timeline on the CSR journey. And we went up to silver, and I thought 18 months ago that we'd be reapplying to go to silver, and they actually said, no, you're a gold. So we were pretty made up about that, I have to say. It was a great credit to all my colleagues. And the key thing was, it's this concept of leader. Normally, you've got sort of leader-follower type scenarios, and of course, was a soldier, so I kind of understand that, because that is the way that the militaries have to work in many ways. You have to get someone gives direction, people follow up to the usual responsibilities. Actually, do they understand the accountability that goes with it? It's that conversion from purely a one-dimensional thing about understanding your responsibilities to take on accountability. This has transformed the business because everyone buys into all we're doing around CSR and our day-to-day job about looking after our customers, that supply basically after our customers, and not least being the professional amongst ourselves, towards ourselves, and working as a team in a sort of mature way. So we got gold in 2022. It's up for review this year, and it emulates a lot of the principles around ISO 26000. Assurance schemes we touched on. We do Red Tractor, we do Soil Association. I won't labour on these. And we have our own sort of organic brand, and that's very much based upon. We've now got 11 varieties of potatoes, which are blight resistant. Blight, of course, being a fungus, is very quick to change. So there's a new one that's been found in Denmark last year, which will be in the UK, thanks to birds and other forms of just airborne transmission. So we just keep on the breeding and development journey to produce more and better blight resistant varieties. It's still the biggest killer of. Up to date, we put 205 solar panels on the south facing dimension of our big old aircraft hangar. You see them there, just being finished off. 60 kilowatts of energy, which is really quite useful for running our refrigeration units and our grading machinery and so on. And what that picture. It's a short video. We'll run this. This is where we aspire to be very shortly. We want to produce a potato quality centre for, well, potatoes and other crops that allows us to be a fast follower behind our continental cousins who have all got these already. So this, I'm hoping, will attract £4.5 million grant from UK government as part of levelling up under the Angus City deal, which is kind of listed onto the side of the Tay City deal. And this could be pretty transformational for the Scottish seed industry. See if it runs.
Mm-hmm. You need the link.
Work from advertising.
No. Well, listen, never mind.
Bob.
Never mind. We have lost Bob's clever special touch. That wouldn't play from your direct button. So it might actually be running. The bar was actually. So chance to warm up and make sure that it will germinate. And then the third lot are kept for 3 months, and that's their shelf life test. Will they survive until they get to their target country to be planted and then actually grow effectively for Mr. Farmer wherever he is in the world? So that's the purpose of this, is to be able to do a crop quality check on all those certified crops. They've already had 2 inspections by government inspectors in the field and 1 prior to point of loading. Ladies and gentlemen, that's all from me. You've been very patient. Thank you for your attention.